Welcome to my channel, tribe. This is Nefer. I am the creator and owner of the Hood Botanica, where we discuss topics of African spirituality, discuss spirituality from a melanated perspective. So like I say on our Instagram, we get into the woo-woo, but I'm not your guru. We get into the tarot, we get into spell work, and just basically activating your potential as a melanated person, as a descendant of the original people, okay? I don't want to get too long-winded in the intro. This is the first video on the YouTube channel. We previously recorded another video for an end of the year reading, but I guess Spirit didn't want to upload it. So this is officially the first video, so welcome to the channel. It is officially January 2nd, 2020, so Happy New Year everyone, happy 2020. And I thought that this was a great first video to preview because I personally need to go ahead and do my Rose of Jericho reset for the year for 2020. So I figured I would videotape it because so many of you have been asking us via Instagram and via our Twitter about Rose of Jericho. You've been asking, how do you care for a Rose of Jericho? How do you water the Rose of Jericho? Been asking about submerging Roses of Jericho. Some of you have been asking about on Twitter, have been experiencing mold on your Rose of Jericho. So we're gonna go over that and talking about uses for Rose of Jericho, money spells, love spells, protection, all of that in this video. And before we get started, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe the video. Comment down below with any other videos you would like to see. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Hood Botanica, same username. And consider joining the Inner Court on patreon.com/thehoodbotanica, where we get way more in depth, or we're going to be getting way more in depth with topics that you want to know about concerning spell work, witchcraft and wizardry, other forms and other works within African spirituality and spirituality in general. So welcome everyone. Let's get right into Rose of Jericho care and usage. This is what a Rose of Jericho looks like. All right. When it's all dried up, it's usually brown and in this circle tumbleweed type of form looking energy. Okay, so first let's get right into what is a Rose of Jericho. So I just looked this up online somewhere, and basically I got the same thing from every website. The Rose of Jericho is a small plant that curls its branches and sepals inward when it's dry, forming a ball that only opens when it's moistened. So you moisten the roots and it will open up. It can survive for years and years and years, and that's part of the magic of the Rose of Jericho. If you take care of it properly, you can literally pass this on to your grandchildren. And if it's rooted while moistened, it spreads as wide as a foot and bears small white flowers. Another part of the magic of the Rose of Jericho is, as you can see, it is not rooted in dirt, okay? It is a plant that you don't have to actually put in dirt. You can put it in dirt, but for what we're going to talk about today is watering the Rose of Jericho, getting it to open. Care for the Rose of Jericho. A lot of you have been asking me about submerging your Rose of Jericho, and I'm going to see if we can get a time-lapse video of this opening. So first and foremost, that's what the Rose of Jericho is. Now, there are two types of Rose of Jericho. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'm just going to flash them both on the screen. The first occurs naturally in North Africa and Southwest Asia, and the second occurs naturally in South and Central America. Now, they call one true Rose of Jericho and one false Rose of Jericho, but they both do the same thing. The only real difference is where they come from, and one of them, I think, if you cut the roots, it will still grow. The other one won't, or something like that. But basically, the uses are the same. So I don't really see the difference between the two species. They both do the same thing when put in water, and both have resurrective properties. So it's mostly common to find the second one species than the first one. But regardless, they both do the same thing and have the same features as far as how they grow. Hope that makes sense, okay? Now, let's go over uses. The most common uses, magical uses for the Rose of Jericho are uses for protection, whether that's for your household or during spell work. I like to bring it near the ancestral altar or the altar wherever I'm doing any type of spell work or in any protection ritual. People use it for prosperity, especially in business, to bring in customers into your business. So if you have a physical storefront, you can have the Rose of Jericho. I usually put it behind the door. You can put it near your cash register, things like that. And then it's also used for power, happiness, abundance, peace, and protecting you from negative energies, as well as your house. I also include Rose of Jericho as a protective measure in the Protect That Neck course, which is in pre-order mode right now. I will put some information down below and where you can get the pre-order, and that'll be a course that'll cover ritual protection for yourself, your space and home. So go ahead and grab that. And then also Rose of Jericho is used for love drawing, attraction, that type of thing. So for those of y'all that are looking for love spells, attraction spells, I don't do any love works, and I usually don't talk about love spells because I always believe we should start with self-love. But for anything love drawing, attracting, that type of thing, you can also use Rose of Jericho, and we're going to get into that, okay? So let's go into why it's called a Rose of Jericho in the first place. So the Rose of Jericho is called such in reference to the biblical city of Jericho, which was constantly reborn from its ashes, okay? And on a side note, on Instagram, on Wednesdays, we do a live stream where we discuss Bible magic. We call it Hood Bible Study, and we discuss some of the rituals and things that were present in the quote-unquote Bible. And one thing, if you look in the book of Joshua, if you're into it, look up the story about Jericho and look at some of the ritual processes that were in that triumph. You can relate it to the Rose of Jericho. Like I said, being reborn from the ashes, the city being reborn from the ashes, this Rose of Jericho, once you submerge it, it'll open up, and that's what I'll show you. But if you were to take it out of the water for whatever reason, it'll close back up just like this, and then you can submerge it again and it'll open up, and it'll do that over and over and over and over and over again, as long as you're taking care of it, which we're going to get into right now, okay? So care and use for the Rose of Jericho. So when I first received my Rose of Jericho, the first thing I would recommend you do is to cleanse it energetically. So what I would do is just, as you can see, we have some frankincense and myrrh resin. So you can cleanse it with smoke when you first get it. If you prefer using Palo Santo or anything like that, you can go ahead and cleanse it like that. You can add it to your altar till you're ready to use it in a prosperity or protection ritual. If this is something that you're going to use to protect your space or bring prosperity into your space, I wouldn't be against you taking it around your house and literally giving your Rose of Jericho a tour of your house, because at the end of the day, y'all, this is a plant. Right now, it looks pretty brown and dead because it's not submerged, but once it's submerged, you'll see it come to life. So even though it looks all brown, and as you can see, like all the table is getting all messed up from what's falling from the Rose of Jericho, this is still a living thing. So you can take it around your house, give it a tour of your house, let it know what it's going to be protecting, whether that's inside, outside, and treat it like a living thing. I even call my Rose of Jericho her and give them names. So feel free to do all of that and personalize it, because this is an exchange. One thing I found in a lot of the frequently asked questions about the Rose of Jericho, people are really looking for prosperity more than anything. And people are like, well, it's getting mold, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or it's not blooming properly, or the water's too dark, and all these types of questions. And what I've found is that it's really focused on what you can get from the Rose of Jericho. And at the end of the day, it's supposed to be an even exchange of energy. So if you take care of the Rose of Jericho, it will take care of you in turn. So think of it that way once you get it. If you're doing this for prosperity, to bring in more prosperity, Thursday and Friday are great days of the week to do so. Thursday is Jupiter Day, Friday is Venus Day. Jupiter Day, which is Thursday, is good for business, attracting clients, attracting money and prosperity. Friday is also good for those things. Friday is also good, Venus Day, for attracting love. And you can prep your Rose of Jericho for that love work on Thursday if you like to. So there's a couple of different suggestions on that part of it, okay? Now, I'm going to go over 2 ways to water your Rose of Jericho plant that are commonly spoken about. What I like to use, and you can use what you like, but what I like to use is a shallow bowl, a shallow clear bowl. I have 2 here. I'm going to put one to the side because one of them is to explain the ritual in a little bit. And then I also have like a kind of like bowl vibe, because a lot of you have asked about submerging your Rose of Jericho. So I'm going to show you my suggestions for submerging your Rose of Jericho. But first and foremost, I have a shallow-ish bowl. You can put it in anything you want. I just like to give it space to expand as much as possible while I'm training it to be submerged. So yeah, I just use like a pretty shallow bowl. I got this from the dollar store, y'all. And one of the first tips that I usually give people is to use rainwater or spring water or some type of filtered water. A lot of you have been using tap water. Not that tap water is horrible. If it's what you have access to, it's what you have access to. But tap water does have a lot of other impurities that may harm the Rose of Jericho. So I always recommend using bottled water, spring water, filtered water, or rainwater if you have access to it. So here I have some filtered water. And then I also have some rainwater that I collected during the most recent eclipse. It very rarely rains in LA, so I want to go ahead and add this rare eclipse rainwater to my Rose of Jericho. And I like to verbally explain what I'm doing to the Rose of Jericho. So if this is a brand new Rose of Jericho, I haven't submerged her yet, I will literally talk to the Rose of Jericho. And I've explained on Twitter before that I will sing to the Rose of Jericho and let the Rose of Jericho know I plan on giving you some water. This is for the purpose of protection. Thank you for bringing protection, resurrection, restoration, prosperity, whatever it is you're looking for into my house. I invite your energy and the spirit of this plant into my space. And I invite communication with this plant. I talk to my herbs. I talk to my plants. As crazy as it sounds, it helps and it works. This is not even getting too woo-woo. If you were to get a strong enough microscope and look at the leaves of this Rose of Jericho, you will see atoms and molecules moving. So this is a living, breathing thing. And bringing in your voice, bringing in your speech, bringing in sound, bringing in that vibration and your intention is going to help you along the way. So I usually let the Rose of Jericho know exactly what's going on. For instance, this specific Rose of Jericho is for the purpose of bringing prosperity and protection into my life for 2020. This will be placed behind my door, and eventually I'm going to submerge it. But for now, we're just going to awaken it, give it life on the second day of the new year, and explain exactly, basically just get it familiar with the house more than anything. I'm not really asking for much right now. This is more so to train the Rose of Jericho to be in my space. So what I would usually do is I would recommend putting your Rose of Jericho in your bowl like so, and I'm going to go ahead and add some of my spring water. And also going to add some of this rare eclipse rainwater. Now, I personally only add enough to cover the roots at the bottom of the Rose of Jericho. Okay, so this first time I'm only adding, I don't want to shock the plant. It's been dry for I don't even know how long. So I'm only adding just enough water to wet the roots. And I'm going to put it right here so we can see how it opens up as the time goes by, as we do our talking. So like I said, I only add enough to cover the roots the first time. I don't want to shock the Rose of Jericho. I just want to get it acclimated to the environment, acclimated to opening up. Now, when it comes to submerging your Rose of Jericho, for this specific situation that we're doing, this Rose of Jericho, I'm going to have it in my room, in my space. And I don't know if you can see, I'm going to bring it a little bit closer. But the Rose of Jericho is already starting to absorb the water. You can see some of the leaves. are getting a little bit darker. But this Rose of Jericho specifically is not connected to any prosperity or protection ritual. I'm going to show you a ritual that you can do in a second, but sometimes I activate this or I add water to a dry Rose of Jericho when I'm doing a prosperity quick burn or burning some type of prosperity candle, that type of thing. Bring it around during prosperity works, okay? Same thing with protection. Now, at this point, you can start to affirm if you like bringing in protection, bringing in prosperity, that type of thing. If you're doing this to eventually submerge your Rose of Jericho, I would recommend putting enough water to cover the roots, allowing the Rose of Jericho to open, and allowing the water to evaporate completely and let the Rose of Jericho close. I do that 3 times. And each time I do it, I add more and more water, okay? So if this is the jar that we're submerging in, and I add in this Rose of Jericho, now I'm not gonna submerge it fully right now because this is completely dry. The first time I'll add just enough to cover the roots and let it evaporate. The second time I'll add just a little bit more and let it evaporate completely. And the third time then, and just do it little by little. Now, each time I do this, I'll talk to the Rose of Jericho, ask it what it needs, ask it if it's comfortable. Now, obviously the plant is not gonna physically talk back to you, but you will be able to see from how the plant looks, some of the evidence of whether it likes the water that you're using, whether it likes the area that it's in, and things of that nature. So submerging completely does take some training. Like I said, talking and listening. Let her open up her heart first and foremost, okay? Now, as you submerge her, the water will be brown in the beginning. Some of that may be from some of the dirt coming out of the roots of the Rose of Jericho. Don't let that alarm you. That's just the earth, Mother Earth, that type of thing. If you wanted to, you could also kind of rinse your Rose of Jericho prior to use. That way some of the dirt comes off initially. And then submerge from there. This Rose of Jericho is too big for the opening, so I'm not gonna force it. And then submerge from there. That's another tip for cleaning off. But the water will be brown in the beginning. And I would just start off with just enough to cover the roots, let it evaporate until you see the water start to get clearer and clearer. Have patience with your Rose of Jericho, and you will see that the protection is continuous, the prosperity is continuous. It'll start to flow in on a continuous basis because you have a relationship with the plant. You're not just trying to take, okay? A lot of you follow this ritual but then are seeing mold on your Rose of Jericho, and I'm gonna tell you why.